Hello and welcome to Mediascope. Today we will be focusing on the developments in Syria. Joining us from Beirut is Ms. Alami. Ms. Alami, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ms. Alami, you've been following the recent developments very closely from multiple sources. Firstly, I'd like to ask, what's your take from the Astana talks? What do you see on the field?
So what was interesting in the Astana talks is that Turkey and Iran announced the creation of de-escalation zones in the Idlib province, in eastern Ghouta, and in other parts of Hamas, Hama, and Aleppo. So Russia, Turkey, and Iran will be deploying forces to control de-escalation. What I think is particular to this deal is that we seem to be heading to some sort of stabilization within Syria, and possibly the end to the main class war that pitted the Assad regime against the revolution or the rebels. However, this does not exclude peripheral wars of influence between regional powers, such as those taking place as we see in the Deir ez-Zor province.
I see. And how is the de-escalation zone different from the prior experiences?
I think that it's different because there seems to be, like, it has the escalation effort has gained momentum. So there seems to be like a real understanding on the situation in Syria and the need to de-escalate, the real need to de-escalate and stabilize the country.
Okay, I understand. And if we go further to the situation at Idlib, how are you seeing the situation there? When we're looking at from Turkey, there seems to be some understanding of preparation. Do you see that on the other side as well?
Correct. So we're seeing what happened in Idlib is that in July there were fierce clashes between Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is the former Al-Qaeda affiliate known as Jabhat al-Nusra, with Ahrar al-Sham, which was the biggest Salafi movement in Syria. The clash ended with the withdrawal of Ahrar al-Sham from strategic locations on with Syria and with Turkey, and others. So what this created fear of a bastion of the creation of real bastions of jihadism on the border, in northern Syria on the border with Turkey. So, but what we're seeing now is that because of increased pressure on the region, on the northern region, there are around about 2 million people living in Idlib, and there have been a lot of protests in Ma'arat al-Na'man and Saraqib and other towns in northern Syria and Idlib against Hayat Tahrir al-Sham because people are afraid of facing a fate similar to Raqqa or Mosul. So we've seen a lot of pressure on Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the former Al-Qaeda affiliate, and we've seen attempts by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. There have been trial of mediation toward Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, possibly by the Free Syrian Army, for Hayat Tahrir to put pressure on Hayat Tahrir al-Sham to avoid major battle there. And we've also seen efforts by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham to infiltrate local councils and to create movement among prominent members of Idlib, of the Idlib society, to maybe survive in another form.
So how do you think that the situation will unfold? From the Astana talks, we know that a number of representatives from Turkey, Iran, and Russia will be watching the de-escalation.
Correct. Around 1,500 people will be monitoring the situation there, from what I've read the Russian papers. But I don't know exactly. It's still unclear. I think in Turkey there are a lot of rumors and information circulating about how the Idlib operation will go. So there seems to be two scenarios. First of all, division in two areas of the Idlib region. First on the southeast of Idlib, that would be taken over by Russia and the Iranians, while the northwest will be occupied by joint forces headed by Turkish troops and including rebels. Something similar to what we've seen in the Euphrates Shield operation. So this has an objective to put an end to the presence of HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. However, there is a local think tank, Syrian think tank that's based in Turkey, that that issued a detailed paper on the confrontation against Tahrir al-Sham. So this particular think tank said that the region will be divided in three main zones of influence. As previously said, there would be one at the east railroad line of Aleppo that would be demilitarized and would be under Russian protection, and another that would be under Turkish influence. That would be a second zone lying between these two areas, where HTS will be pushed in the final end. But this has really created fear among the population, who are asking themselves, how will they, like people who are living in this area, how they will be stuck, and how will they face this confrontation?
I see. And you said that there are 2 million civilians inside Idlib. Is that right?
Yeah, over 2 million civilians, yes.
Okay, I understand. And if we move more towards the Euphrates, the developments taking place there, there's a rising question on what will happen when the government forces meet the US-backed forces. Last week, I guess it was there was a Russian airstrike on the SDF forces. How do you explain the situation on the ground right now over there?
Okay, so firstly, I'd like to underline that Eastern Syria has a lot of importance, a lot of geopolitical importance. Firstly, the regime and the Iranians are very intent on taking back the area, because 2/3 of the Syrian oil is located in this region, and it also has a lot of gas resources. And Iran's calculations in East Syria is that they want to link Tehran through Iraq to Syria and to Beirut. So basically, Iran has two pathways to Syria via Iraq, either to the Sinjar, Tal Afar, Hasaka axis, and another through the Palmyra axis in the south. So Iran wants to establish this pathway. It's very important to it, which can explain the confrontation between pro-regime forces and the SDF, which are backed by the United States. I think, yeah, there have been talks between the Americans and the Russians about limiting these clashes, but the possibility is still there. There are still questions. I met a few days ago Commander Hezbollah, and there is still question whether the pro-regime forces will push towards Raqqa. So according to what he told me, he said they didn't have orders yet to be pushing towards Raqqa.
I see.
Sorry, I want to also add last thing, is that Hussein al-Shaban, the advisor to President Assad, was quoted a few days ago saying that Assad, that the regime will be recapturing all of the country. So if this is not only talks, and if this is a real intention of the regime, and I think yes, from what we know of Assad, this is his attention, and it will have to clash with the Kurds. And Hussein al-Shaban has said that even if it meant that recapturing all of Syria means clashing with the Kurds, it will go on with the plan.
So would this bring question marks on the de-escalation zones?
Sorry?
Would this imply a question mark for the de-escalation zone, how it will operate?
I don't think that in this particular region, the rules of the game apply in Deir ez-Zor.
Okay.
It's a race for Eastern Syria, and I don't think the rules apply there.
I see. And in terms of the relationship between Syria, Iran, and Russia, and the allies of Syria, Assad regime, are they on the same page, or are the interests of Iran and Syria overgoing the interests of Russia?
I think that for now, yes, Russia, Iran, and the regime are definitely on the same page. Mm-hmm. But I think that in the future, these differences might rise. Russia appears to be a more pragmatic player and is aware of local dynamics and limitations to the war in Syria. It has worked on establishing the de-escalation zones and paving the way for more stability and possibly a solution there. Iran and Assad have an all-out war vision over the country. They intend to win the country over. So I think that, and I think this will be interesting to see, will play out maybe as we're seeing in Deir ez-Zor, but also in southern Syria. Because when we look at southern Syria, the de-escalation, the successful de-escalation in southern Syria, we see that Iran's interests in southern Syria are very prominent. Southern Syria is that gives Iran access to the Israeli-Arab conflict. While Iran appears for now to be accepting the de-escalation, I think that in the future, from what I've been hearing from Hezbollah members, they are reinforcing their presence. They are building tunnels. They are doing reconnaissance work. We've seen yesterday a drone was shot down by the Israelis. So I think that Hezbollah and Iran will be pushing in this region. So if this push continues, it will be also maybe Israel will react. So I think these front lines are not exactly rigid as people think.
And from the talks you have with your sources within the region, do you see any change in terms of the relationship with the Syrian government and Turkey?
Definitely, Turkey, since the Aleppo battle, has changed its position towards Syria. I think that Turkey made a pragmatic calculation because I think Turkey's priority is with the Kurdish issue, and for Turkey, the priority in Syria is to contain, although Turkey supported rebellion, largely supported rebellion. Turkey's priority remains in containing the Kurdish expansion in Syria. So this will definitely influence its decisions in Syria and its relation with the regime.
Okay, and today we got news that the Raqqa operation was flowing to nearly finished.
Correct.
Do you have any update on that?
Not really. I know that now there's a lot of concentration from Hezbollah forces as well as the Iraqis, all the regime forces, on the two other centers of ISIS, which are Abu Kamal and El Mayadin. These two cities are on the borders, close to the borders with Iraq. And on the other side, you have also three other main centers for ISIS. So I think that the focus will be for these cities to be captured.
Okay, Ms. Alami, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching us. Today we talked about the developments in Syria. See you next time.